So, what does it mean to lead like a mother? For me, it means inclusiveness, ever generative creativity, a kind of fierce protectiveness, and the power of gentleness. And I have learned this over the last 15 years doing what I do in writing and podcasting and publishing and building teams and deconstructing teams and rebuilding teams in my life and my vision and all the things. And I'm going to bundle all of that into our next business class called Lead Like a Mother. And as you know, I'm opening every podcast episode with our discount for what's up. So if you are listening to this on launch day, which is Wednesday, May 15th, tomorrow, Thursday, May 16th, at 3 p.m. Pacific, 6 Eastern, we're doing the Lead Like a Mother live masterclass. If you go to daniellelaporte.com/class and use the code POD113, that's POD113, you get $17 off of the class. The class is normally $87 US, so you get it for $70, and we are designing everything now in multiple learning styles, so you choose your own adventure. You can be there live for the 90 minutes. There'll be lots of interactive Q&A. You get every link and resource and book and thing that I mention. You will get the replay of the class, and in about 2 or 3 days after the actual live class, we produce a beautiful audiobook if that is your jam. So you can just listen to it, or you can listen to it over and over again. Lead Like a Mother, Master Business Class with myself and Team D, daniellelaporte.com/class. Use code POD113. All right, let's talk about leading with love. Who could go for a love story? I have one for you. Who could go for a lot of actually practical cues for working through arguments and restoring and building every kind of intimacy? Well, I have a story for you. On today's With Love, Danielle, it's Danielle and Will. Episode 113 is really personal and it's fun AF. I'm getting married soon, really soon. And so I'm finally going to tell you the how we met story. Every time I post a photo of him or even mention fiance, boyfriend, marriage, my DMs fill up with, how'd you meet him? And you give me hope. And I can tell you, it just takes one. So I'm going to give you the how we met story. And I think I'm just not going to tell the story anymore because Will is tired of me talking about it when we go out with friends for dinner. I'm going to talk about how kind of guarded I was. It was this strange combo of like in pursuit and wanting to be pursued and not quite sure, but really falling in love. And then my ultimate declaration of, I want to be your person. Jump cut to triggers and couples counseling and our now legendary Friday check-in process, which you can actually read about if you are subscribed to my Sacred Weekends newsletter. It comes out 2 Fridays a month. It's free. Just go to daniellelaporte.com/subscribe and you can read the back issues, and it's got all of my like shopping notes and references and referrals. And it's like a really cool thing. I think of it as a girlfriend meets philosophical depth and enlightenment, like real life stuff, deep chick stuff for everybody. Back to With Love, Danielle and Will. This is about dating and friendship and repair and forgiveness and heart-centered relating in all kinds of relationships. So if you are married happily, this is for you. If you are single and longing, this is for you. If you are not interested in any kind of romantic partnership, this is for you, because this is really about how to relate in a more conscious way. It's applicable across the board, and all lessons, healings, expansion come through the vessel of relationships, strangers, family of origin, romantic, fragmented parts of ourselves, and extraterrestrial. All the things are learned in the container of relating. Okay, I have a simple, really beautiful rom-com story that I'm so grateful to be able to tell you. Welcome to With Love, Danielle and Will. All right, I'm feeling a little giddy and, well, I'm not nervous, but this one's going to be a personal one. So we're talking today about my own personal love story. This is with love, Danielle and Will, actually. Yeah, so at the time when you listen to this, I'm going to be very close to getting hitched. And I know some of you ladies listening and dudes might be wondering, how did you meet your guy? Because I'm single or my girlfriend's single or just the how. So let me just I'll give you a little of the scoop of the how. I don't want to go too much into that because it's in the past, but mostly because I want to focus on the practical practices and things we do to stay connected. Yeah, because I think it's applicable to everybody all the time. Okay, so here's the deal. I was single for about 8 years, meaning nothing like really serious. There were some situations, but no commitments. And Will, my beloved, also single for about the same time. Both of us have sons in the same age range. And we were both doing a lot of online dating. Well, he was doing a lot of online dating. And, my nature is just to be very highly selective and elitist in terms of romance. So, yeah, he was really, he was outdoing me on the dating front. And we met on a dating app. Specifically, we met on Match.com, even though both of us were on a bunch of other apps. And then, you figure out when you're doing the app thing, all the same dudes are on all the same apps. And you do your swiping and your clicking, depending on if the guy is holding a very large fish and wearing camo gear in the photo. Although if that's your thing, I'm so into that being your thing. But I don't think that's the photo dudes should lead with. Or maybe they should, depending on the chica they want to be with. Okay, so I'll tell you the romantic story. This may be the last time I tell this because Will has heard me tell the story a couple times. He's like, I don't think you need to tell that story anymore. And I was like, babe, chicks really want to know the story. Everybody wants to know, how did we meet? I will not be telling the story at the wedding. So we make the match on Match.com. I had seen his photo about 6 months prior, and I was just like, something warm about that guy. Okay, maybe. I kind of put him in the maybe bucket. And then finally I was like, okay, I'm going to respond. You can see my selectiveness, or maybe it's I'm in sync with some kind of planetary divine timing. I don't know, but it took me 6 months to just click the click. And my puppy plays a role in this story. And I'll just jump to the end of the puppy story and tell you right now, that puppy died. I will get to that. I think the puppy incarnated came into my life for one reason being connecting me with Will. So it's a cold, windy day. I say to my sweet friend, my brother from another mother, Joshua, let's take Misha the puppy, for a walk on the seawall, and we'll give her her first introduction to the ocean. She hasn't swam yet. And that same morning, so we get to the ocean. That same morning, I park the car, I check my messages, and I see a message come in from this Will guy that says, Sunday brunch, ? And I'm like, whoa. I know nothing yet about you. He wasn't giving me any back and forth warm up in the messaging, hadn't asked me any questions really about myself. I thought, this guy's just really direct. He's going for it. I just don't know. So I didn't answer it in that moment. We take the dog for a walk. And within about 20 minutes of me checking the phone and seeing his message, who do I see on the seawall in a city of 2+ million people? But Will. And he'd just been for a run and he was all sweaty and his hair was swooshed back. And I was like, wow, hi. We didn't say hi to each other. We made eye contact, and I thought, I wonder if he recognized me. And I nudged my friend Joshua, and I'm like, that guy asked me out this morning. What do you think the chances are? So I just take that as a nod from the universe, say yes to brunch with this dude. I go back to my car after walking the dog. I message him. I ask him 3 questions. I say, before I say yes to brunch, I would like to know, 1, do you own any shiny, meaning bedazzled jeans? The answer was, thankfully, no. So we could proceed to question 2, which was, have you ever willingly been to a Nickelback concert? Because I thought I would leave some room. Like maybe he went with a friend to make the friend feel good, but like if he ever like actually purchased tickets himself, that we were not going to get to brunch. And 3, any kind of criminal record that I should be aware of. Even if he had a crim record, I might have been in. And I got all the right answers to all 3 questions, and I said yes to brunch. Little did I know that as I was parked in the car post the puppy walk, talking to him, that I was parked right in front of the building that he lived in. Okay, so we have brunch. He has a lot of espresso. He had braces at the time on his teeth, and I thought, what is up with this guy? It takes balls to be this age and have braces. Like, did you get a hockey puck to the mouth? What's happening here? He had a whole kind of dental surgery, rebuild his mouth story, and he has taken a few hockey pucks to the mouth. And we talked a lot about hockey, which is kind of a PTSD thing for me because I grew up in a hockey family. Hockey night in Canada. I was raised pretty much on an ice rink in an arena. And I'm still cold just thinking about it, but he's a hockey guy. And I talked about political tyranny and what I thought was wrong with the world. And I just thought, this guy is not going to be my guy. So I'm just going to let all of my political, spiritual, metaphysical stuff hang. And he was tracking and he laughed at all my jokes. And my rule-ish practice was on the first date, I never dress uber sexy. Like I show some shape and I make sure I've got just the right eyeliner on, my standard, and the hair is always excellent, but no cleavage on the first date. So I had on this big poofy sweater, which he thought actually took courage for me because he's like, you just showed up in this big sweater. I couldn't tell what was underneath that. But anyway, it's a beautiful, expensive sweater. And we left and he was all like, if you knew Will, you would just see he emanates gentleness and this kind of deep strength. But almost everybody who meets him, the first thing they have to comment on is, wow, he's just really one of these gentle men. Not my typical type. And when we left, it was all awkward. There was a hug. He was looking smoking hot. He's got this long silver hair. He had on these great glasses and this good kind of black hiking coat, good footwear. Like just, he was dialed with his style. He had on this beautiful kind of hunter green shirt. Anyway, he was down with the style. And we had a good hug goodbye. And then awkwardly, because gentle and sweet, he's like, well, like, I got a truck. Do you need a ride? And I was like, does he think the truck is a selling feature? Because I'm not so sure about that. But no, I have a vehicle. I'm good. And I thought, if he wants to do a second date for my own stretch myself purposes and social research investigation, I'm a yes. 4 days went by and nothing from him. And I just like, well, I'm out. Because if you want this, you got to bust a move. You need to clearly and in a timely manner express your intention and your desire with me. Not because there's a lineup, but just because. And he didn't. And now he says it's because he took some bad dating advice and he was kind of gaming things a bit. And because I have my own neuroses and my planets in Virgo and I like to call the shots, I proactively texted him and said, um, listen, it was a good connection, but I'm getting the vibe you're not interested. So maybe I'll see you on the seawall sometime. Peace. So I was cleaning up that loose end. I planted a little seed that he could have taken at that one time to say, oh, why don't we do seawall now? But he didn't. He just kind of was like, he backed off, but he also expressed interest at the same time in the back off. He said, that's too bad. You're smart. You're hot. I was like, yeah. And yeah, maybe I'll see you on the seawall sometime. I go on another date. I leave the date and I think, what about that Will guy? I really wish he'd bust a move again. And he did. It took about 3 or 4 weeks. Totally put the moves on me in my messages. Named the date for a date. Said I'll be done filming. He was a location manager in town. And I'll be done filming this series on this date. And then let's give her a go. And he curated some date options for me. He said, because by this time we'd had some chatty and we'd had our first date. We knew more about each other. And this really, really was effective for me. So he said, we can do this breath workshop thing. We could do yoga. We could go to this restaurant for dinner, or we could just go for a drive to Whistler. We both live in Vancouver. Whistler, not one of my favorite places in the world, as beautiful as it is. I think it was totally a missed opportunity in terms of land development and eco-sensitivity. But anyway, I say, why don't we do a breathwork workshop of our own while driving to Whistler? And that was our date. We set the day and the time. And because I'm ridiculously selective and controlling, I say, why don't you pick me up at noon? And Will says, forget that. I'm picking you up at 10 a.m. And I'm just like, okay, I'm liking this. And that turned into a 12-hour date. We're approaching Whistler. I let him know in the truck, I don't really like Whistler. And he's like, now you tell me. And we just kept on driving to this other little mountain town called Pemberton. And we stopped at a pub and it just went on and on and on. And then we drove back into the city. It's now like 10 o'clock. We'd already had our first kiss at that point. And it wasn't so much the first kiss that got me, although that was sweet. It was by a rushing river in Squamish. It was the hand holding that preceded afterwards. I just found it so warm and intimate and strangely vulnerable. And we've been holding hands for 2.5 years ever since. So one of my favorite things is Will reaching for my hand. And yeah, sorry. Okay, I just got gushy and I got distracted there for a second. So yeah, we just went parking in the truck and made out all night. And okay, jump cut 2. There's all sorts of I'm gonna leap to like all the things we've worked out in the last 2.5 years. I knew in the first 3 weeks that Will was my person. And he said to me, I was like, just let's be lovers because I'm not going to be your next wife. And I don't think you're going to be my next husband. And, oh, wait, I should tell you about the second date. So the day after the Whistler 12-hour date, we both check in with each other. Good move, Mr. Will. And that was so great. Really enjoyed myself. I would love to see you again. And we're both like, yeah, I'd love to see each other. Yeah, when? Maybe. Well, how about like soon? How about tonight? How about 8 o'clock? And so we met right away at this sushi restaurant we still frequent. And I don't think they really care every time we go in and say, this is the place of our second date. And Will told me basically all the reasons I shouldn't continue to date him. And I just like, yeah, I love this transparency. It's really turning me on. And it's okay. I'm not going to be your next wife. You're not going to be my next husband. Because actually, secretly inside, I'm as guarded as fuck. And it didn't take long. Really, 3 weeks after that, I was just like, hold on, wait a second. I want to be your person. And at one point he said to me, what I see is a powerful woman trying to protect herself. And then there was this long pause. And I'm thinking, oh, you're good. I'm in. And after that pause, he said, and I'm okay with that. And then I was all in. And then, the commitment was really natural and clean and clear. And we just have grown more deeply in all forms of intimacy and living our lives. My loves, just a reminder that tomorrow, Thursday, May 16th at 3 p.m., 6 Eastern, is going to be my last publicly available business class. I'm calling it Lead Like a Mother, and it is for everybody. Metrics, obsessive goal setting, hacking, disruption for the sake of being disruptive. All of those tactics are the opposite of life-giving. So my question, for which I am offering some answers to, is how can we restore ourselves and our work after these recent years of total whackness? Because I think we have not fully recovered from the last 4 years of wild insanity. Are you curious about how a multi-7-figure business can thrive without perpetuating burnout culture? Which, by the way, doesn't mean you're going to burn out, because sometimes that's part of the natural cycle of creating. You just plan for it. You don't bowl over your adrenal fatigue. You kind of bake it into your system. So I'm teaching about less force and more flow, because when we say that we're going with the flow, what we're really declaring is that we're in sync with the divine creative principle. Just capitalize all of that. Divine creative principle, life force. And that is ever creating. It's always generating. There's always more where that came from in terms of divine creativity. The divine mother, leading like a mother. My business runs on these principles. My business runs on metaphysical principles. We have a winter in our planning mode. We have a summer in our launching mode, and we are well, and we are prosperous. And our key strategy is to not capitalize off of the people we serve. That's toxic patriarchy, but to nurture the people we serve, because I feel great and lit up and genius when I am nurturing. And it's all coming full circle. So in this masterclass, I'm going to teach about creating a self-managing team. You know what that is? I can tell you what it is. It's about people being really clear about what the vision is, and it's about them managing themselves. I'm going to talk about tracking the nervous system of your business. You have a nervous system, and so does your company, your team, your project, your business. I'm talking about when to let go of control and when there's a time to actually sweat the details. Let's get into harnessing synchronicity, seeing the signs, so that you can unlock the creative principle of business, ever generative, always flowing, always more where that came from, and really fun ways, human ways, loving ways to celebrate and inspire your people. Compassion plus results. Compassion plus results equals harmony, equals saving money, equals sleeping through the night. And let's talk about project management that's agile and communication that keeps you on track. This masterclass is going to apply to all kinds of businesses and projects and leadership objectives. Everybody is leading all the time. You're always teaching. My question is, what are you teaching? And here's my belief. Heart-centered leadership is the only way to create purposeful, sustainable prosperity. Anything else is, well, really how we got into this global mess. So let's get together and talk about integrity and kindness and big picture thinking that your mother would approve of. Lead like a mother. You can register to be there live tomorrow, or sign up and you will get the audiobook and the replay and the slide deck and every note that I refer to. This is one thing that I'm going to give you in our list of how we keep growing closer and healing together is we live in different places. So we live in the same city, about 2 blocks apart. We each have our own apartments. And even after we get married, we're going to keep that up. Part of that is circumstantial, and part of it is it's just really hot and it works. Circumstantially, my cub son man, who's 20, is essentially my roommate, and we love it. We love living by the beach in the west end of Vancouver. He comes and he goes. He's away a few months out of the year at this time in his life, doing his outdoorsy thing. We have lots of space. We have lots of laughs. And I just like to have him close and tucked in. And yeah, it's spacious and it's family. Love it. And then Will has his own son who's a teenager, and there's lots of back and forth there with his son and his mom. And so we have our boys that we really dig living with, and we don't want to kick them out. And also just this flow is really beautiful for us. So we're together 3, 4, 5 nights a week. And then, of course, throughout the year, there's chunks of time where we go on vacation and the boys do their thing and go on their own holidays or with their other parents and girlfriends. And there's just flow. Sometimes we'll go 2 days without seeing each other or longer, but there's always often a check-in for like, oh, just come by for a kiss or let's go for a walk. So that's the rhythm, and it really works. And even when the boys move out, although I want Harper, my son, to pretty much live with me until he's like ancient. I don't know. We might just keep this up. We'll see. But let's get to the practicals. I've talked about a few of these things before, and these have remained these beautiful touchstones of intimacy for us. And by the way, whether you are partnered, you are breaking up, you are longing for somebody, you're a parent, you're a boss, you're a team member, you are a citizen of the planet, these practices of emotional intimacy, I think, apply to everybody. So one of them is this question, how's your heart? And this was actually a little gift from my friend Steph, who asked me this years ago. And it was at the end of like, just a check-in of like, what's going on in business? And did you get that car? And all of the things in life, and where you flying, and how's your, and then you get through all the perfunctory and totally interesting administrivia of life, and then you go, yeah, but how are you? How's your heart? And so we're doing the heart check-in every day, and then Will early on would ask me, even though I would pour it all out, he would say, "Tell me more," and there was always more to tell him. And that's when my nervous system just really went like, oh my gosh, this is nectar. This is soft place to land. This is not just permission. This is a higher desire invitation for me to unfold and share it all. My gnarly and my brilliance and my neuroses and my inner cosmology. And we do that almost every walk together. What else? Tell me more, tell me more, tell me more. And it's just like, it's beautiful, it's deep, it's nurturing. Okay. The most regular, arduous practice that we do that is now graceful, that it caused the biggest fights in our relationship, but is now awesome, is our Friday check-in. So we started a check-in practice initiated by, who do you think? Me. Systems. There, I have a checklist. I have a methodology. Let's do this, and I'll turn this into something for my community, and everybody on the podcast can go by, and then it'll be a book and an audio and a thing. That's pretty much how I begin everything. And I started with some life areas. Okay, we're going to check in. Let's do Fridays because Fridays are ruled by the planet Venus. which help facilitate better connection, Christ consciousness, activation of heart chakra. So our check-in days will be Fridays. Why don't we have lunch? I was doing Flexi Fridays at the time. Last 6 months, Flexi Fridays for my creativity and business are out the door because we're in startup mode. We'd go for lunch and I'd go through these lifestyle areas. All right, let's check in under body and wellness. Let's check in under our intimacy, sex, and communication. Let's check in with finances. Let's check in with friends and family. So what's working, what's not working? What do we need to change? Any updates? And that pretty much is our current methodology. It really works, but man, did we struggle with that in the beginning. He was not having it. He felt that this was kind of controlling. Will has not historically been a man who likes making the plan. And the Friday check-in, the resistance from him, and then the force from me. And let's just keep in mind the metaphysical truth that all force magnetizes anti-force. The push-pull of that became the cause to bring up all other issues that weren't working in the relationship. I don't want to do the Friday meeting. I want to do the Friday meeting. You this, you that, and this, and that other thing. This stuff isn't working for me. Fuck Fridays. And fuck you that you don't want to fucking do Fridays. I mean, sometimes it would just kind of get down to that. And I backed off of the Friday check-in for a long time. I just I'm not going to let this ridiculously insistent desire, higher desires, yes. But, if I feel like I need to control something, I really got to look at it. And I was like, I think my need to control this is usurping my higher desire to just be connected and be close as possible and build a beautiful life together. So I can just get over myself and we don't need to have these Friday meetings. And I was really upfront about it. I was like, okay, we don't need to do the Fridays. And I just let it drift. And then I was like, all these little niggly things, the administration of life, I don't want to talk about 5 little things a day. Can we just talk about it later? Can we just talk about it all at once? Doy, how about we have a Friday check-in? And we both came to it with a different energy. And now it's like one of our favorite things. And Will's way is to, when he does plan really thoroughly. And so he was coming to Friday check-ins with lists and notes and maps and snacks. And it was all super duper. And I was just like, babe, this is amazing and so sweet and impressive. But this is a heavy lift, babe. You don't have to do this every Friday. We can just go for a walk and be like, okay, let's go through relationship and finances and health and how we doing? What are we going to stop? What are we going to do more of? And we're now in a rhythm where he takes responsibility for one Friday and runs it and comes to it and plans lunch or the time, and I'll do it the next week. And it's really beautiful and it's really nurturing, and we always end up making out. We always end up making out anyway. Let me interrupt this really sweet love story, which has really infused my creativity and my business with more kindness and awareness and a regulated nervous system. And it's given me enough strength to build a really stellar team. And now, finally, I'm going to offer a business accelerator, also known as a mastermind, because I want to work more closely and deeply with a specific kind of person in a small group. It is called the Inner Circle. My tagline for this is mentorship for your quantum leaps, 6 months to clarity and prosperity with integrity. So I want to help co-write your before and after story with you. We're going to make way for new things. We're going to burn down some old things. I'm going to steer us clear of the hustle trap. We're going to plug some energy leaks. We are going to clean up your tech stack. My team and I, that's Dana, our chief of staff, and Elizabeth, our production and marketing director, we are going to clean up your tech stack with you. And we're going to talk about heart-centered leadership and creativity and writer's block and do everything that we can working closely to get our hands on your plans, whether it's your business plan or your membership or your opt-in page or your book proposal. I want to help you honor your calling and make 2024 the year that you step up, you up level into heart-centered businessing. And we're going to match all of that with all the tools and the mentoring we've got, which is substantial. I've been doing this for 15 years. My team has launched again and again and created other crackerjack teams. I myself participate in some really high-level masterminds, and my knowledge of what's going on in marketing and tech and algorithms and the pulse of this whole online culture is on track. So this is what you do. If you're ready to jump in now, you can go learn more about Inner Circle at daniellelaporte.com/Inner Circle. Lots of information, and I've got a really in-depth video explaining to you how we're going to shape these cohorts and what the next 6 months together are going to look like. If you really, really want to know more and need some more hand-holding, because this is a big investment, we totally get it, come to an open house that I'm doing. I'll answer every single question that you have and maybe some that you didn't even think of having before you commit to coming into the Inner Circle with us. We're running from June until the end of November. We're going to be doing an in-person retreat in Vancouver. So come to the open house. You go to daniellelaporte.com/open house. I'll be doing 2 of them. The first one is going to be happening on Sunday, so I can get to so many people in different time zones, different work schedules. Sunday, May 19th, 3 p.m. Pacific, 6 p.m. Eastern. daniellelaporte.com/open house to hear all about what's happening in Inner Circle. Ask any business questions that you have, because I'm here. Mentorship, quantum leaps, clarity, prosperity, integrity. Okay, so we got the How's Your Heart? Tell Me More, Friday check-in, and I have a safe word. And I don't mean a safe word in terms of kinky sex. I mean, I have a safe emotional word that we just realized recently is really essential for me. So in the past, I have considered myself, this is ridiculous, by the way, that I was impervious to stress. Nobody's impervious to stress. And especially in the last 4 years of the shenanigans of slamdemics and World Health things and the collective ravaging of our nervous systems, everybody's stressed. Doesn't matter how enlightened you are. And it's just been in the past few months where I've realized that admitting to stress helps me heal the stress, helps me mitigate it, manage it, work with it, and nourish my nervous system. By the way, I have a beautiful program for regulating your nervous system. It is called the Nourish System. And if you go to daniellelaporte.com/nourish, you will see a program that is one part education. What is your nervous system? You go through a series of quizzes to identify if you are a fighter, a flighter, a freezer, or a fawner, and then a series of practices to help you come up with your antidotal move to all of your stress responses. So it's one part education, and then it's got all these beautiful checklists built in for how you get regulated. And guess what? All of the same lifestyle areas, body and wellness and finance and relationship, that my beloved and I use in our Friday check-ins. Because I am a walking methodology. My whole career is based on methodologies. Anyway, where was I? Yes, stress, not so impervious. Because I present, I appear to be to the world, most people in my life, and even my most intimate partner, Will, to be not easily stressed out. That's actually true. I'm pretty laid back. I have lots of tools which I am aware enough to actually use. This is the thing, right? So many of us have so many tools, but can you remember to reach for the breathing practice, the prayer, the stretch, the heart exercise when you are fighting and flighting and freezing? If you do the practices of your morning meditation and your breathing exercises, you'll remember to breathe in the crunchy times. That's kind of how that works. You do the practices when you're not stressed, so you can remember to use the practices when you are stressed. Because I don't appear to be stressed most of the time, I've actually had to learn to verbalize really clearly when I am actually legit freaking out inside or just stretched. I would say maxed. Maxed is my word. And so I just simply say to Will, luckily, I don't have to do this very often. I just say, I'm in distress. Distress for me felt like it's a notch above stress. It's got that bit of a tinge of crisis. It's give me space or hold me close. I'm not kidding kind of vibe. And I've only had to use it a handful of times, but he knows I'm not joking and he needs to stay with me. And, with all the attachment stuff and the tests you can take, Attached is a really great book to read if you want to get the basics on your attachment style, whether you are an anxious relationship type or an avoidant or you're balanced. I don't know anybody who's balanced. I think there's another one. But anyway, I am anxious in terms of my attachment style. When things are disturbed in the force field, I really crave connection. If you walk, it's not good. It's not good. I'm way better handling when people leave situations with me. I'm like, oh, okay. It's all right. You got your thing. I got my thing. I'm gonna get back to work. But okay, so have a safe word. So we got, how's your heart? Tell me more. Friday check-ins. And what's your safe word when you're legit freaking out? And Will and I also took a course with Terry Real. Not an affiliate for this course, but you might want to go check out his stuff, terryreal.com, Terry, Real, Real. Wrote a beautiful book called Us. We did a 6-week online program with him with a bunch of other couples. And the beauty of that, like many programs, which by the way is one of the beautiful experiences in my Heart Center membership, is that you can just be a witnessing introvert and to see people getting coached, coming forward with their questions, with their own wisdom, other people rallying around the questions, the pain is half the value. See how other people approach their own distress and struggles. So we learned a lot from other couples sharing about their blockages and where they were stuck, as much as we learned from Terry's techniques. So one thing that we took from Terry is that when you're in a rift with your partner, I think this would work in any kind of relationship, and one of you is the type that needs to take space, or one of you just kind of lose your cool and you walk, whoever is the space taker needs to check in with the person that they are taking a break from. And you have a 24-hour rule. So if you walk out and slam the door, you both know that within 24 hours, you're going to hear from the door slammer. And the other person who got the door slammed on them can relax. Terry also recommends, this is a little more loving and kind, that the person who departs checks in within an hour just to say, I'm alive, I'm here. That's it. You don't have to make up. There doesn't have to be an overture, just like, I'm here. And we've practiced that on the times of just like, I need a break, and it really makes a difference. But I think what makes the most difference is the person who's the bail is taking responsibility for coming back together again. And then my takeaway, one of my favorite nuggets from Terry Real was, an angry woman is a woman who does not feel heard. Now, you can imagine that I may have brought that up just once or twice in a few conversations with my man. And sometimes I've brought it up when like we're really in the bump and the crunch. And I'm just like, you just remember what Terry said. An angry woman is a woman who does not feel heard. And I tell you, when you're in the bump and the crunch, that is not the time to bring up that philosophy. As true as it is. And the other thing we do for our relationship is we do couples counseling. And here's the beauty of it for us. One, we don't go to it with the energy of like, this is to save us. We don't need to be saved. We're together. We are so in. Will is, he is game to grow. And it is one of the most enamoring, appreciated, cherished ways of being for me. He is game to grow. And I'm in. I've never, even when we have bumps and fractures, and I think, I don't know how we're going to get through this weekend, especially, you always have your beginning of the holiday fight because you have finally made time to like just have no interruptions. So your shit comes up and you begin the holiday with your like crank, and then it all eases out. But when we hit those rough spots, I never ever think this isn't going to work as a relationship. I think to myself, I don't know how we're going to do 5 days of this. Or I think, God, this would be such a drag if this is a pattern and I keep having to relive this kind of theme. But I'm in. I am in all levels, mental body, energy body, astral body, all of it. I am so into this guy. And more than that, I'm so into this third energy that we've created called a relationship, or a container. Although we have some good laughs around the term container, because Will was saying, every time you say container, all I see in my mind is a big yellow shipping container. So I've had to break down some of the new age self-help language into relatable stuff for us. But now I just say, like, if I'm really needing him and I need his attention, I just go, baby, can you be my big yellow shipping container now? And he's just like, right, yes, I'm here. Okay, speaking of containers, this is what counseling does for us. There is something really powerful and effectual about having a container that is specifically for growth. You have a witness. So we are getting counseling from a really great guy named Brian Dean Williams. I'll leave a link to his site in the show notes. He works with individuals and with couples. He's Canadian, works with people online. And he has his own methodologies, and we've done some great exercises together. And they're all really effective, and there's been some great progress. And I'm super grateful for all the tools. I think equally as powerful is just being in this intentional, sacred space. And the same things that Will might say to me outside of counseling, I might hear different. And he could give them to me when we're in our 90-minute session. And I'm just like, oh, now I know what you're saying. And vice versa. Things in that space are so much more easily absorbed, heard, and reflected upon. Also, I would say 90-minute sessions really allow for actual change to happen, for us to really get to the bottom of things, to leave with a commitment like, oh, this is what we discovered, this is what we know would work for each other. Let's just really commit to that new thing. 60 minutes feels rushed and pressured, and I'll probably never do a 60-minute therapeutic session again. Yeah. I'll probably never do a 60-minute massage ever again either. 90 minutes is really, I think, the sweet spot for a lot of things. As we head into marriage vows, I'm so into vows. I think declaring a vow from your heart to another person, witnessed by your community, alchemizes things. I feel it gives you the fuel to realize your vision. The vision being the beautiful life that you want to build together. So vows for me and for Will, for the win. I'm super stoked to get married. I have a whole handful of other more general metaphysical relationship practices that we both work with, and they're all part of my heart-centered membership. And just make a note for yourself. June, July, and August in our heart-centered membership are all around the summer of love. For those 3 months, I'm going to be focusing on all types, forms, and levels of relationship building. Intimacy with yourself, with the parts of yourself that you are pushing away. Intimacy with your inner child, your shadow self. Intimacy with your future vision of yourself. Intimacy with people in your past, with your beloveds. Intimacy with your longings. Intimacy with your teams. Emotional intimacy. Shifting from ego-centered, transactional relationships to soul-centered relationships. Relationships where you know that you are there to heal and you take a more intentional approach to connecting, to healing, to joy, to service. Because all relationships, every single one of them, from the guy on the corner who's asking for money, to your boss, to your team, to your lovers, to your children, to your exes, to obviously our family of origins. Every single relationship is a vehicle for healing. It's not just an opportunity to heal. I mean, lots of us get into relationship and we miss the healing cues and we have to repeat those same themes with other people. Or we come back in another lifetime or another incarnation within this lifetime to work it out with the same person. So you're going to get your lessons somehow. What I want to talk about throughout the summer of love is how we engage more consciously and we embody compassion and forgiving and loving kindness for ourselves and for everybody else. And it doesn't mean you need to date when you're not ready. It doesn't mean you need to party with your ex or you need to have Christmas dinner with the family that you are excommunicated from. It means that you have more peace with who you are, your shadow, your light, and everybody else's shadow and light. Relating intentionally. So get ready. Summer of Love, all new heart-centered membership is coming. Let's cross this finish line as I get my wedding dress prepped with one of my early love poems for Will. It's called Breaking Open. And now my heart is something that is leavened from innocence and longing, fulfilled, golden, warm. You hold it in your hands and partake of me. And some days I feel like Mother Nature herself providing, endlessly flowing. And others, at night, when I forget about oneness, I feel like bread that you break. Either way, nourishment is for certain. And either way, we are always opening. And either way, there is just this feast of loving. Oh, my loves, I wish you all forms of love that you desire and undoubtedly deserve. We don't even need to get in a conversation about deserving. You just are the beloved itself. You really move into that knowing. You be that, you embody that. You treat others in your life with the respect of belovedness, and you just magnetize that into your life. And then we just trust that the soul is always guiding the intensity and the timing of our loving. The next time you hear from me, I will be a newly married woman, and I will have more to tell you about love, 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 always with love. Danielle. Thank you so much for listening, for feeling, for spreading the word. With love.